probably a 3-team max for me in teasers. But 2 teams is probably the safer bet, obviously, just because you have to count on less things go right. But the key goal is to try to go through as many key numbers. You want to go through 3, 6, 7, and, possibly 14 if you're teasing the Bears and Chargers this week, if you want to get the Bears at plus 14.5. So that's the goal.
I got to ask you, because I know you're a Titans fan. They are home underdogs, 2.5-point home dogs against the Falcons. What do you make of that?
Yeah, this is the ultimate roll of the roulette wheel, just because we're not even sure who's playing quarterback. It looks like we're probably going to get a little bit of both Malik Willis and Will Levis, the guy that puts mayonnaise in his coffee. That's what he's best known for. So it doesn't feel like a game I really want to play on the spread, but I do have a play in this game. It's over 3.5 field goals. Both of these kickers for the Falcons and the Titans have been really good. Young Koo, if you remember last week, had the game winner against the Bucs. He's 13 of 14 on his field goal attempts this year. Meanwhile, Nick Folk for the Titans, a perfect 16 for 16, including 3 for 3 on attempts of 50 plus. Both of these red zone defenses are really good. The Titans have only given up 9 touchdowns all season long and have the 3rd best red zone defense in the league, which usually lends itself to more field goals. Meanwhile, Atlanta has only allowed 1 rushing touchdown in 7 games and checks in as the 5th best red zone defense and 3rd best on 3rd down. So I think the way you play this one is you hope for some field goals. Over 3.5 field goals made between the Titans and the Falcons. That's minus 125.
What else in the NFL has your attention this week, Chelsea?
Yeah, before the line moved, I did like the Seahawks -3. Now that one's 3.5. It makes me a little bit nervous. But I think maybe now is the time to sell on the Cleveland Browns. They've had a couple of big wins. First, they knocked off the Niners as big underdogs in that one. Then they won in a barn burner, 39-38 last week over the Colts. And I think the biggest takeaway is, what the hell happened to their defense? Right. We have been heralding them as the best defense in the league, and I still think that's probably the case. But I'll take the Seahawks at home, the better offense here. We still have questions surrounding Deshaun.
I think we might have just lost Chelsea there. Sounded like a call dropped. So we'll that, which is good. We were getting her last little bit there anyway. We can send her a message and get that last play from her and let everybody know. But so we look at that, Tommy. I'm with her on the Browns being a little weird right now. I don't know if I don't know. You know what's interesting, and I wanted to get to this. Maybe we can in the next segment. CBS Sports put out a 7 opportunities to win the Super Bowl teams, and the Seahawks are one of them. And really? I was like, huh. So I wanted to go through that list anyway. So that's sort of a nice setup for that she mentioned the fact that game's in the mix. I think we all forget about Seattle, and they were good last year, and they've been out to a good start this year. So let's do that. We appreciate Chelsea Messenger, by the way. We lost her right there at the end, but that was the host of the Daily Tip and Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, Chelsea Messenger. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. All right, Jad, let's do a giveaway. Let's start with hockey today on our way out the door here. Don't forget, we've got Tim Fitzgerald coming top of the next hour, but let's give away some hockey. Tommy, what have we got?
Yeah, tomorrow night in Trust Bank Arena, the Thunder take on the Cincinnati Cyclones. Puck drops at 7:05, and we'll give away a family 4-pack of tickets to that game tomorrow night.
All right, so a family 4-pack gets you and the family or some friends out to the Wichita Thunder game tomorrow. You can do that by being the first caller to the IHOP hotline. 869-1240 is that number. Good luck, everybody. Jad will get us a winner. We'll come back and we'll talk about that list of teams that have a chance to win the Super Bowl next on Sports Daily.
.97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Jump into the NBA action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and the official partner of KFH. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. All customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass, courtesy of FanDuel, when they place a $5 bet on the NBA. Don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. Promo code is my name, Ted. Visit FanDuel.com/Ted. Tip off the NBA season right. FanDuel, official partner of the NBA. 21 plus and present in Kansas. New customer offer. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. All customer offer. $5 NBA wager required. Limit 1 pass per customer across both offers. Restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See full terms for both offers at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help with your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. NBA League Pass. Local blackout restrictions apply.
McCurdy Real Estate and Auction is proud to present our November 2nd multi-property live stream auction event with online-only visits. The auction features 36 properties and will take place on McCurdy.com at 5:30 p.m. Thursday, November 2nd. Our multi-property auctions provide a unique opportunity to bid on single-family homes, twin homes, and rental investment properties. Make sure to visit the open house where all properties will be open to view and tour this Sunday, October 29th from 1 to 5 p.m. For details and pictures of all 36 properties, visit McCurdy.com, where our favorite word is sold.
Keep your water heater heating up your faucet from leaking. Just call out the pros at David Lease Plumbing.
Water softeners are a great way to improve the quality of water in your home. Benefits are softer skin and clothes, fewer water spots, less corrosion in water piping and appliances, and an overall better quality of drinking water. Give us a call at 945-0117 for an estimate for a new water softener.
Let David Lease Plumbing give your plumbing a new lease on life.
An exciting era of Shocker basketball is right around the corner with new head coaches Paul Mills and Terry Nooner leading this year's men's and women's teams. Take in the electric sights and sounds of Charles Koch Arena as a season ticket holder and be rewarded with a collector's replica of the arena. Plus, there are all fan-friendly concession pricing, simplified entry into the arena, and thrilling enhancements to the game presentation. Join Shocker Nation and reserve your season tickets in the Roundhouse by calling 316-978-FANS.
Electrical problems can be shocking. Call the experts at Mr. Electric and experience unmatched professionalism from start to finish. Call ahead scheduling. No surprises with upfront pricing. Complimentary safety check with every appointment and 24/7 emergency electrical service. The Mr. Electric expert staff is focused on your safety with a job done right every time. Residential or commercial, Mr. Electric has the power to make things better. Call now 316-361-5200. Online at MrElectricWichita.com.
Win, lose, I will pour my heart out until there is nothing left to give.
On Saturday, November 4th, AEW is on the road to full gear.
I'm tired of being nice.
Will you be there live when AEW Collision makes its debut at the Intrust Bank Arena in Wichita?
We are about to take off.
Saturday night's all right for fighting.
Tonight, history will be made. Time will stand still.
What does the best in the world, CM Punk, have to say next? And you never know who might just show up.
This is insanity!
Don't miss the Redeemer Miro. Game over! Luchasaurus and Christian Cage. Willow, Powerhouse Hobbs.
Silence! The Book of Hobbs!
Chris Statlander, The Hustle Black, Andrade, Samoa Joe.
I want to pick a fight, and you won't give me what I want.
Ricky Stokes, Bullet Club Gold, Jake White, Juice Robinson and the Guns, FTR, and all your favorite ROH stars will be in action live. Don't miss AEW Collision at the Intrust Bank Arena live. Get your tickets now at AEWTix.com. Cards subject to change.
Hey, did you know Vistaprint prints everything small business needs? Like if a barbershop needs signage, we print outdoor signs, posters, and banners. Or if a ballet school needs merch, we print tote bags, t-shirts, hoodies, hats. Or if a coffee shop needs a total refresh, Vistaprint designs logos and prints it on menus, mugs, paper bags, anything. Because with Vistaprint, the printabilities are endless. Print it all with 25% off for new customers with code NEW25 at Vistaprint.com.
Not all water heaters are made equally. Some can be temperamental. Some can be unreliable. And don't even think about what happens if you have neighbors downstairs.
Why is it raining inside my apartment?
Not with a Navien tankless water heater. You'll never run out of hot water. You only heat water when you need it, saving you tons in utility costs. Navien tankless water heaters. Visit Tankless Made Simple.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Daily on KFH. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor here with you. Chad Chambers is manning things, taking your calls on that IHOP hotline, giving you prizes, all kinds of good stuff there. Our thanks to Chelsea Messenger there, our betting insider. I will not be listening, though, Tommy, and I will be betting every game individually with the Rangers. That's just how this is going to play out. That's what I've been doing. And if you think I'm going to do anything differently now than the way I've been doing it, you're crazy, because I'm not. It's not going to happen. By the way, I just saw this. Major League Baseball put out ratings. The 2023 I guess the league championship series were great. The 2023 postseason now a 7% increase in ratings over last year, Tommy, heading into the World Series. We'll see if that holds through, but it does continue a trend where baseball's just been more popular this year than it has been in a while. And I do think these rule changes are a big part of it. Look, when you can get in and out of a baseball game and or a postseason game in 3 hours or less, that's a big win. And a lot of the regular season games, it was, like 2.5 hours. It makes it far better.
Absolutely. And, I know that we had been, at least I had been, fairly critical of some of the playoff games starting at 2:00 in the afternoon or 4:00 in the afternoon on a weekday. But even then, I know that, that's not super convenient when it's not in prime time. But at the same time, you don't have to take up 4 hours of your afternoon to watch a game.
Right.
You're getting in and out quick. And not only is the total duration going down of the game, but also the time in between pitches. There's not a lot of downtime like there used to be. That makes it so much more entertaining and fun to watch.
It 100%, the pitch clock, I think, is the best viewing experience change, but more subtly, the elimination of the shift has put more balls in play. You've got guys stealing bases now, which are obviously more exciting. It's all been good, and I'm glad to see it carry through that way for Major League Baseball, because it has been, it's been tangibly better this year. It just has, in my opinion. I just think absolutely has been better. All right, let's talk about this list. So CBS Sports puts out a list today of teams that, and they say 7, who could win a Super Bowl title. Kansas City, we would obviously agree. Philadelphia, Baltimore, San Francisco, Miami, Jacksonville, and Seattle. Surprisingly, the Bills are not on this list. In Seattle is on this list. I think those are the two biggest things. Are you good with this list? I'm not counting the Bills out. You know who else isn't on that list, actually? Cincinnati. And
Yeah.
I'm not counting either one of them out right now. I think that's a little crazy. And I think I would, certainly take both those teams over Seattle, but it's a list. Lists are lists. It's somebody's opinion, but what do you think of it?
Dallas is not on the list, right? They're not one of the 7. Detroit, they're not on the list. I didn't hear you say
Dallas.
Detroit.
No, I didn't. I did not. I don't disagree with Dallas. Detroit, I'm on the fence for, because I want to see Montgomery get back and see what that does for them. But I'm not going to put Dallas as they currently stand on that list. They may be better than some of those teams, but Dallas didn't win a Super Bowl unless they do something drastic. Not going to happen.
I'm not sure Seattle is going to get there. I think they're a good team. I think that they, last year, nobody thought they were going to be in the position that they were. And that was great. And then going into this season, I think everybody kind of counted them out again. It was kind of a fluky year last year for Geno Smith as the comeback player of the year and all of that. But they're not going to really do anything this year. And here they are. They're, they're one step behind San Francisco in the division. But, man, they've got solid play in other areas for sure that have, kept them in that mix. So I don't know if I'm ready to put them in the category of teams that could win a championship, but I do think that they are a team that absolutely is a playoff team again this year.
So here's what happens, and this has happened a lot during this year, and why I would not put Seattle there either. They are playing pretty good defense the last 3 weeks, but Tommy, the reality is they did beat Detroit in overtime. Okay, that was a big one. But they have wins over Carolina, the Giants, and Arizona. And they've lost to Cincinnati and the Rams. They haven't beaten anybody good. That win over Detroit looks good. But then they have a couple of cupcakes, and it's like, well, what are they really, right? Let's see them play San Francisco the first time. When does that happen? They got a weird thing where it doesn't happen. It happens real close together later in the year. So they still have to play San Francisco twice. They still have to play Dallas. They still have to play Philadelphia. They still have to play Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore. Like I'm not ready to put Seattle there yet. Like you've beaten a couple of cupcakes and you have one good win. Like, okay, great. Like everybody has one good win. They're not there yet. I would put Cincinnati, who by the way beat Seattle. I would put Cincinnati in there still, and I would put Buffalo in there. I would remove Seattle. And I think other than that, that's pretty good for me. I'm not putting Dallas in, and I'll hold on Detroit until I see David Montgomery come back and be a part of that offense again. But I will say this. Last year, it felt like there were 4 teams with a shot, right? The 3 in the AFC, the big 3, and Philadelphia. It does feel, and maybe you'd put San Francisco in there last year, but it does feel like it's more open this year than in a while, right? Like, even though I think the Chiefs are separating just slightly, I do think, like, where we came into this year and we said, 5 teams have a chance, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and the big 3 in the AFC. I do think that's expanded out, and you could see other teams make it through.
I think so a little bit. And I think it's because we've seen Buffalo and Cincinnati be a little bit down to start the season. I mean, the way that Cincinnati started the year was not great at all. And then Buffalo has kind of stumbled the last couple of weeks. So then that opens the door for other teams like Miami and what they've been able to do offensively, and teams like Jacksonville, being able to get into the mix, and Baltimore, what they've done as of late also. I mean, it does creak the door open a little bit where, I think a year ago, it was pretty clear who the cream of the crop in the NFL was, and nobody else was going to crack into that. At this point in the season, you've got a handful of other teams that I think can lay claim to that. Now, whether or not that holds true 2 months from now, I mean, that's a different question. But as of right now, yeah, I do think the door is a little bit more open for other teams that we didn't see last year being contenders actually in that mix this season.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's been that kind of year in the NFL, and everybody also, the other thing about the NFL this year is the just absolute long list of key injuries.
Right.
Every team feels like a key injury away from disaster, right? And I'm not talking about quarterbacks, just in general terms. Like, that's what's happened to Buffalo, of course. But every team on that list is a key injury away from a disaster, which also I think speaks to how even and spread out things are this year. Okay, let's take a break here. We're coming into hour number 2. We'll have our K-State insider Tim Fitzgerald on. Very interesting time for the Wildcats, as you can't afford to overlook anybody here as you get ready for Texas. What did Fitz think of the 2-quarterback system? And is that sustainable moving forward? We'll talk about it all when we continue on Sports Daily.
Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
He's got all the insight on what you want to know and maybe some of what you don't want to know. Here's K-State insider Tim Fitzgerald.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Hour number 2 of Sports Daily. Tommy Castor, Jacob Albracht, Jad Chambers producing the show, the IHOP hotline at 869-1240. Joined on the IHOP hotline by our buddy Tim Fitzgerald. GoPowerCat.com. Fitz, we are like right in the middle of when things start to get extremely busy. College football, college basketball knocking on the doorstep. Are you getting ready for it? I know that we're getting into that time where you've got to kind of cover both at the same time. How's that going?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's going to warm up here really fast. You know, in fact, next weekend we have Kansas State playing at Texas in football and Kansas State basketball playing in Las Vegas on that following Monday. So we will have our staff all over the country covering stuff. But it's awfully fun covering K-State sports right now.
Fitz, let's start football, basketball. I do want to talk a little basketball today because I'm curious on your take of things there. But look, we've got a situation here with a couple of good quarterbacks. They're both doing their thing. Like, it went perfectly in last week's game. How sustainable do you think this is? Because really, like, to me, it feels like you need it to be sustainable to get at least through Texas, but it feels like it's probably sustainable the rest of the way.
Well, I think last week was interesting because both of them played so well in the first half. They just kept rotating every other possession. And I don't know that that was necessarily the plan. They kind of did that a little bit at Texas Tech, and Avery Johnson just played so well, they just let him stay in the game. And so maybe that'll be more of the plan this week. They'll go with both of the guys and, feel out what's going on, and eventually someone will take over. And if they get the same result as they did last week, who's going to complain about that other than maybe your opponent? Yeah, they're both very good. This is not a typical, we can't figure out who's quarterback because neither one's good enough. They're both good enough to play. And, Will Howard has been the guy. He's earned the ability to, start the games and try to prove he can stay in the game. But Avery Johnson's got something to say about it. It's an odd situation. It might be a little awkward at times in that locker room, but if it's effective, I think the team's all in on it.
When you've got a quarterback situation like this, Fitz, and both players kind of bring a little bit of a different skill set to the position. If it works and it's effective, I mean, I agree with you. Keep on riding that wave as long as you can, depending on what defenses are giving you. But I wonder if let's just say you're a skill position player on that offense, and you've got to kind of adjust based on whether Will is in the game or Avery's in the game. How do you think one of the wide receivers, let's say, or Ben Sinnott, or even an offensive lineman, how they adjust their game plan depending on which quarterback is in the game? How does that work?
Well, what's interesting is they obviously both have strengths, that are different than the other guy. Avery's known as the runner who is incredibly fast and the fastest guy on the team, and Will's known as the more pocket passer. But if you go back a week ago, the most memorable runs were by Will Howard and the most memorable passes were by Avery Johnson. So I think their skill sets overlap enough where the playbook really doesn't change that much unless someone obviously can't stop, say, the quarterback run like Texas Tech. Then you see a lot more of that than you would have from the other quarterback. But I don't think a lot's asked that's different of the guys other than be alert. You just don't know what's coming next from either quarterback.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about next, because it's not that, and this is why I like it, right? It's not like, and I don't even know what a good example of this would be, where one quarterback is so clearly a runner and one quarterback is so clearly a thrower, because that does allow the defense to adjust unless you're going to try and change quarterbacks mid-drive. With these two, and they exploited it beautifully. Like, if Will comes in and you're like, okay, they're going to throw, he'll run, and vice versa. And again, I think that's why this works. I just don't like, here's what I don't think is the best case scenario for Kansas State. is that the Wildcats sit there in the game against Texas and are like, all right, Avery, good luck. Like, that doesn't seem like that would be a smart thing to do to me.
Well, yeah. I think Will Howard made a statement last week. To me, there's no doubt that he was the better of the two quarterbacks overall because just look at the scoreboard. He put up 4 touchdowns. So I don't know. I just am uneasy about trying to rotate quarterbacks at Texas. But you got to do what you got to do. Texas is the most athletic, talented program in the Big 12. That doesn't necessarily translate, to great performances as we saw last week against Houston. But you got to figure out what's going to work. And I'll tell you this: while I thought they might be getting Avery ready to start against Texas, go look at those running stats against Texas throughout the season. People just don't run the ball. They don't have any success doing it. Maybe doing it from the quarterback position is the X factor needed, but do you want to be the one to find out? I'm sure they'll experiment with it, but going all in on it seems a little risky.
Fitz, we talked quite a bit earlier this week on Monday about the game against TCU and about how Will Howard and Avery Johnson played and what's going to happen with the quarterback position moving forward. And really lost in that conversation, I think, a little bit, and can be easily overlooked, is how great the defense played against TCU. Limiting them to 3 points. And I know that, Chandler Morris is young and, that TCU team is kind of in rebuild mode and all of that. But man, like for a defense that has struggled at times this season, they played a pretty complete game on Saturday against TCU.
They really did. And you're exactly right. That's what my post-game walk and talk was about how good the defense was. That was a really settled performance by a group that was playing with yet another middle linebacker, and Jake Clifton, who's kind of their jack of all trades linebacker, plays as much as anyone on the defense. He just doesn't do it at one set position. Well, he was at a set position on Saturday at middle linebacker, and I think he made a world of difference. And I think that they're beginning to figure out who they are as a defense and what they need to do. They've been too aggressive. They were too passive at Oklahoma State, and I think they found their median right now that seems to work for them. Going into the depth chart, TCU was driving the ball late in the game, down 41-3. They're determined to try to get into the end zone. The number 2s are on the field, and the number 2s held them out of the end zone. So I just think that kind of performance, that kind of expectation of excellence is spilled through that defense, and I think that's a really good sign moving forward for K-State.
Any concern at all about Houston? Texas may have done K-State a favor, because if you were going to consider looking past Houston, surely after what happened last week, K-State wouldn't do that now.
Yeah, I agree. Houston's really talented. There's no doubt that they've got some dudes on that team, and just from a skill set standpoint, I don't think they're being coached extremely well. I think they were coached much better last week. The switch of defenses certainly caught Texas off guard. I don't quite understand why Texas struggled with it so much, because a lot of teams in the Big 12 run 3-man fronts. So that's on the table. K-State knows that might come from Houston. I really feel like the key there is to limit Donovan Smith's operating time in the pocket and keep him in the pocket. And if you can stymie that offense, they just won't hold up over the course of the game.
Do you think there's anything, Fitz, that the Wildcats can take away from the way that Houston battled against Texas in 2 weeks when Kansas State goes to Austin to play the Longhorns? Is there anything from what Houston did that you think that they can exploit and take advantage of?
Yeah, Chris Kleiman mentioned that they did some things defensively that seemed to take away the explosive plays from Texas. Now, maybe that's a one-shot thing. Texas went into practice and got it corrected. I don't know, but there was something there. But I think the biggest thing Houston shows is don't go away. They've done that their last 2 games. West Virginia kept knocking them out, and they'd get up off the mat like a zombie and ended up winning the game after, West Virginia takes the lead with 13 seconds left, and they find a way to answer with a touchdown. It's absolutely incredible. Then they get down 21-0 a couple weeks later after an off week, and they come roaring back and take Texas to the wire. They just keep going. And I think Houston's proved that there's value in persistence in this conference, and they almost pulled off an enormous upset.
Let's real quick before we switch to basketball, Fitz. Let's be as real on this as we can possibly be. Oklahoma struggled last week against UCF. Texas struggled against Houston. Kansas State still in control of its possibility of getting into the Big 12. Like, what are the chances, do you think? Like, where is this? Are Oklahoma and Texas, after what we saw last week, closer to the pack than maybe what we thought 2-3 weeks ago?
I've actually thought that about Oklahoma, and then they went and beat Texas. I thought Oklahoma last week was kind of what I thought Oklahoma was. I don't know that was an aberration. I think Kansas is going to play them competitively, no matter the quarterback. I think if Daniels was able to play, I think KU might win that game, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I think Texas is Texas, and what I mean by that is incredibly talented. Blessed with every advantage in the world. Whether it's through recruiting, it being based in Texas, or just facilities and financial support. They've got every advantage, and yet they still find ways to struggle on a fairly consistent basis. And it's been forever since they've been in the Big 12 title game, and yet the national media acts like they're the one of the best programs in the Big 12. That hasn't been proven true. So I think they are a little bit closer to the pack. Although I'll just be really honest, Texas shouldn't be. They just absolutely shouldn't be. They should be a national title contender, and they've got that loss now to Oklahoma, and I just don't understand. But we'll see if Texas has got much in the tank next week, or if they're kind of seeing their national title hopes go away, and that's all they were playing for.
Let's talk basketball a little bit, Fitz. The big story, I think, going into the year is going to be how quickly can Arthur Kaluma and Tyler Perry acclimate to Jerome Tang's squad, and then how, overall do they mesh with the returners, Naquan Tomlin and others on that team. As we get closer and closer to the start of the season, what are you noticing? How do things look as we're getting close to it?
It's been interesting. There's been a kind of a mystery around K-State basketball. Naquan Tomlin wasn't showing up in any of their promotional materials and the videos they're shooting. He wasn't at Big 12 Media Day in Kansas City. And then lo and behold, last night he showed up. They were filming another, something for social media, and he was there with the guide. So I think K-State Nation side, big relief there. A lot of rumors about what was going on, but apparently it's cleared up. I think they need him around, even though he's young in his basketball career. He is familiar with the program and has played at this level, and he can offer a great deal of leadership in that locker room. And I think they've got some nice pieces. And again, you can have all the nice pieces in the world like Texas football, but you got to put it together into a team, and a team that understands that you got to be competitive every game. And I think Jerome Tang did that. By midseason last year, he had that accomplished with K-State. And by the time it started Big 12 play, this team can't afford to find their way in the non-conference schedule, because Jerome Tang is up the ante in that schedule, including opening against a really talented USC team in Las Vegas. They've got to be able to hit the ground running, and we'll see if they can accomplish that. I think that's a lot to ask when you put in so many new parts and a new offense into your program in year two. I think it could be a journey this year, but I think by the end of it, they'll be pretty darn good.
Well, but isn't that the thing now, Fitz? Like, it's that not everybody. KU is obviously not going through that as much this year with the returners that they have. They did add some, but like, it's kind of what everybody's dealing with. Like, everybody's got to sort of start over every year now. And maybe that's where you lean into Tang, and can he, because that's what he did last year too, right? Other than, it wasn't a total start over in some ways, but it was a start over for the program. And Noel, who was one of the holdovers, ended up being so good. But this is where we find out, right? Just like X's and O's, coaches to coaches, like, we know all the intangible things that Tang brings to the table. This is where we find out where his coaching chops are a little bit. Now he can't lean on Noel all the time and Keontae. Now they got to do it with somebody else. I think this is a big opportunity for Tang to get in there and prove it.
I agree, and particularly putting in a new offense. Even your newcomer or even your returners have to learn this offense. So I'm very interested to see how this all stirs out for Kansas State. Let's be blunt. Last year, if the offense wasn't getting it done, they just put the ball in Marquise Noel's hands and said, "Go make something happen," and he did. I think these guys are a little bit different. They're a little bit more the scoring types, but I think there's some equivalency to what they brought into the transfer portal and overall effectiveness. So now can it be, pieced together into a program, into a team, into a unit that goes in and wins road games in this conference, defends their home court, much like K-State did last year. So we will see. I'm really excited about this basketball season because Jerome Tang is certainly upping the ante in K-State basketball.
Fitz, I can't wait for it. We're at that crossroads now, right? Like it's all colliding here for us, isn't it? We got football in the heart of things. We're about to have basketball. I haven't pleaded to you, but if you don't have a rooting interest in the World Series, if you could please send all of your interest to the Rangers, I would really appreciate it. Diehard Rangers fan. It's only been my whole life here that we've been trying to get this done, and I have money on it. So please do that as you have all your other duties that you've got to do.
I mean, your lifelong allegiance is one thing, but the money.
There's money there. There's money, Fitz.
I lost a bet last weekend, a parlay, and the leg that didn't hit was Avery Johnson scores a touchdown. Now, I'm still bitter. I'm going to be bitter for a long time after 5 touchdowns in one game. You can't muster one stinking anyhow, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, that bad beats. That's like the greatest thing Scott Van Pelt ever did was bad beats. It's so good because we've all been there, right? Like everyone, and we've all been there like last week where it's just like, you got to be kidding me. That's what makes it fun, though. All right, Fitz, what do you guys have coming up at GoPowerCat.com?
Oh, it's all rolling. It's everything you mentioned. We've got a bunch of basketball recruiting going because they got a big time recruit coming in this weekend.
Yeah.
They think they're going to land him. We'll see if that works out. He's Final 3 are Kentucky, Duke, and K-State. So that's another step that Jerome Tang's taking in the recruiting world. Just being in that Final 3 is impressive. Our game preview video / podcast went up to Go PowerCat, the PowerCat pregame podcast. So that's up. We just got all our game coverage rolling out. Thursday's our big day there with a lot of free coverage and our podcast. We'll have the Friday walkthrough tomorrow because that's Friday. We're having fun. We're having a blast covering K-State sports.
It is a fun time. You can check it all out at GoPowerCat.com. You can check out Fitz on social media at Life of Fitz. We appreciate it. We're getting close to Texas. Don't stumble here. Don't blow it. Let's get into that Texas game with everything on the line.
You got it. They kind of lost their way at Oklahoma State. They seem to be back on track.
And Oklahoma State looks pretty good, by the way. All right, Fitz, we appreciate it. Yeah. We'll talk again next. There goes Tim Fitzgerald. Glad to have Fitz in. Glad to have his energy to the Rangers and everybody's. Come on now. I was on my walk this morning, Tommy, and I saw a neighbor, and I didn't with a Diamondbacks hat on, and I'm What are we doing here? Let's go. What are we doing here? Like, where did that come from? And it looked like a legitimate one, like an old one that wasn't, it had been very worn in and everything else. And I'm just like, I can't. Like, let's go.
I've been trying to think about, my justification to be on the Diamondbacks bandwagon, and I think I have one. It's because I'm a National League guy through and through. I'm a Braves fan, so I gotta support the National League. I think that's my justification.
Yeah, National League, except if the Phillies are in, or
or the Mets. Or the Cardinals,
Right. Yeah, you're not a National League
or
guy,
the Dodgers
guy. They all have a DH now. It's all the same. It's all the same. You're a hater is what you are. Let's give away some. Let's do, what have we done now so far? We've done just hockey, right, Jad?
That's right.
All right, let's do some wrestling. Let's give away some wrestling tickets. AEW is coming to Interest Bank Arena. We have a pair of tickets for you. We're going to have the Paul White in, formerly known as The Big Show, formerly known as The Giant. That'll be tomorrow. So we'll be looking forward to that. But we've got some AEW tickets. That's what he's in town for, is to promote that show. You can get a pair right now. We'll do the first caller to the IHOP hotline. That IHOP hotline of course, brought to you by IHOP, where guests can enjoy the new pumpkin spice pancake combo. And right now, they can enjoy a pair of tickets to AEW on us. 869-1240, first caller. Jad will get us a winner. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back in, everybody, to Sports Daily. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor, Jad Chambers with you. Congratulations to Alex, who's headed to AEW here in Wichita at Interest Bank Arena. That'll be fun. I don't watch as much pro wrestling as I used to. I fully support being a fan of pro wrestling. Love it. Been a big part of my life growing up. It's all I wanted to be. I did it for a little bit, and it was a blast. And maybe Mickey Blaze will make an appearance in studio there with Paul White tomorrow.
Really? Okay.
Size him up a little bit. We'll see. We'll see how that
Can you
goes.
guys do? I want to hear like you guys cut promos to one another.
Oh man, that'd be pretty fun.
Because I would imagine you're a pretty good promo guy on the mic.
The mic skills is like all I got, right? Like I wasn't going to physically intimidate everybody, so it's the mental warfare that that comes into play. But we'll see how that happens. We're looking forward to that. That'll come tomorrow. Congratulations to Alex for winning those. Andre won our Thunder tickets. We'll give away a little HTO later in this hour. Tommy, let's talk Thursday Night Football. I don't know what to make of this game. I know that we just mentioned I do not like 9.5 points at all. Like I would be inclined to go Bucks there, or maybe that's that spot for a teaser, right? Like do you take 9.5 and turn it into what would that become? 15.5. I do like the over. I will say that I do like 43.5, but maybe that's the teaser, right? Let me just pop on here while we're talking about this and see what that would do. Like if I don't even know that you're allowed to do that, by the way. But let me just see if you can tease those two together. But I think the Bucks can hang in there, and like the Bills they're hobbled right now. They just are.
I'm not sure that I like even like necessarily teasing the Bills because right now I'm looking at it. It's 9 is where the spread is. So if you tease that down, then it's -3.
No, have to tease win it up. Tease it up. I take the Bucks.
Right, but I'm saying I don't like teasing the Bills down because you're teasing it down to 3, and the Bills would have to win by more than a field goal. If it was 2.5, it'd be a little bit different, I think, for me. But at 3, a field goal just pushes. So I don't even really like that necessarily. If I'm going to tease it, I'm kind of with you. It'd have to be the Bucks and teasing that up.
Okay, so I cannot tease it that way, but what you can do is put them in, and I'm on BetMGM right now is where I'm looking. They're at 9.5 there, 43.5. So you can't, it will not let you tease them, but I know you can build a parlay on it.
Yeah, you have to have a couple different games in there.
Well, but you could go into a same game parlay and just alter then. So like if I did that and I wanted to tease that out and I said, okay, let me go on this spread, and I would take the Bucks. What would 6 points make that? 9.5, 6, 15.5. Okay. And then I'll go to the over under, and then it would take it to 37.5. So I can do that. And that puts it at plus 115. I mean, you're getting plus money.
Don't do it at 15.5. Do it at 14.5. You're going to get a little bit better odds. If you
I'm just saying instead of the straight tease.
Right.
So yeah,
but I'm just saying, like, if you can change that alternate spread, do it at 14.5.
Yeah, you can. And that makes it at plus 125. So you got 37.5 on the over. You've got 14.5 in the Buccaneers at plus 125. You could, as you said, go if you wanted to go to the Bills side of it, go into a smaller spread. But I'm sort of with you. I do
it at 2.5. I wouldn't go 3. I'm okay with 2.5.
Yeah, and so if you wanted to take the Bills side of that, just messing around here, you could take the Bills at -2.5, and you don't get plus odds at that point. You get -120. So I look, I might put my money where my mouth is a little bit on this because I'm interested in this. Look, I think it can get over the number, and maybe I don't take 37.5 was 24. Yeah, no, I do kind of like 37. I do like 37.5. That's a good number. So yeah, plus 125 on that. Just fiddling around here. I might throw a little scratch at that. I kind of like
this. I'm playing with it right now too. So I've got it at I've got the Bucks plus 14.5, but then I've also got the Bills -2.5. So I'm doing both of those on the alternate spread. And then I've got the over 37.5. and it's plus 208. I like those odds quite a bit.
You can go in, Tommy, and you should do this. We'll get to the IHOP hotline in just a second. You can go in, and there's a margin of victory bet that you can make.
Right.
So in that scenario, you could do a Bills like from 1 to 13, I think it is. Let's go to the phone lines. The IHOP hotline is open. Frank wants to talk a little betting and games. Frank, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Haven't talked to you all in a while, but I used to be a regular caller a long time ago. With way back
how are you, man?
Pretty good, man. And as a former Southeastern Oklahoma State University baseball alumni that played in a couple World Series, I want to wish you the best of luck on your Rangers. I'm looking forward to this series. So, also, by the way, I follow Chelsea now on the X, and I had to congratulate her and thank her because she cashed me a plus 649 3-game parlay last week. So,
all right. Let's go.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm definitely, I even already told her, I said, I'm all over the Kincaid thing tonight. So, but I'll let y'all go.
Yeah,
and I'll get off the line.
Kincaid, hang on real quick, Frank. Were you, I think we lost Frank. I was going to say Southeast Oklahoma State was there. Were they in the Lone Star when he was there playing against my alma mater, WT? But yeah, look, Chelsea's, if you just follow what Chelsea picks, you're doing pretty good. And she would tell you not to parlay them because she does it for a living. And we all know that's a sucker bet. But for most of us, when we're betting $10 on a game, we don't like, I don't want to bet 10 to win 12. I want to bet 10 to win 80 or whatever it is. So yeah, her picks, especially when, that's why we always ask her, like we ask her what we're interested in, but then it's like, but what are your favorite plays? And then that's where you get the real dig in insight. So we always appreciate that. Thanks for the call, Frank. Yeah, it's an interesting game tonight, Tommy, because I just don't know what the Bucs are. I mean, the Bills are, and I guess I don't really know what the Bucs are either. Baker Mayfield's not playing well lately at all. They cannot run the ball, and that may be a problem tonight because Bills don't defend the run very well. I think the Bucs will try. I could see this game becoming a shootout though, because the Bills have lost so much defensively. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin are still there. Rashad White is a receiver. Like if Bake doesn't have a total dud, I definitely think they could score some points in this game. And for Buffalo, can that defense step up and flex a little bit? They're going to have their hair on fire after last week. You can only do so much when you have as many injuries as they've had. They're going to score, I think. I mean, Steph Diggs looks great. Gabe Davis has been on point. I think they'll score, but 9.5 just seems that seems like that's a bet more on Buffalo's reputation than reality.
Well, what I like about this matchup is you've got a couple of teams that, recently have stumbled in kind of dramatic fashion. Both of them, the Bucs against the Falcons recently, and then of course the Bills with the Patriots. And now you've got both teams that were on the losing end of those games matching up against each other in prime time. And so, I think the question comes down to, who do we think is more likely to bounce back in this matchup? It's probably the Bills, but I'm not sure that it's going to be at the margin that, where the spread is. I'm on the same page with you right now that I don't like 9.5. Now, that being said, if we get Baker Mayfield tonight that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, it could very easily be 9.5 for the Bills and probably more than that. I want to see Baker back to the way that he was to start the season, where he was playing pretty solid football. He wasn't lighting the world on fire, but, you got him on a team with, a decent offensive line and some good weapons. He was doing okay. Hasn't been okay the last couple of weeks. And so, I don't know if he's going to be able to bounce back. I think it's more likely that between those two quarterbacks, Josh Allen will be the one that bounces back over Baker. But, again, yeah, I'm with you. I don't like the 9.5.
He just has to get rid of the ball. I mean, that's been his problem. He hangs on to the ball too long. So it's like this pressure that's been his problem. And I just don't know if Buffalo can get it right now with its banged up defense. I mean, for me, that's sort of where I'm at with it. Like, can Buffalo play enough defense to make Baker Mayfield uncomfortable? What hasn't been hard to make Baker Mayfield uncomfortable lately, but can Buffalo do it? Bigger picture, though, I think the story with Buffalo is, are they going to be able to compete for a Super Bowl? Don't you think? Like, I don't really care what they do in the regular season. They barely beat the Giants. They lost to the Jags. They lost to the Patriots. But we're not that far removed from the stretch where they just absolutely steamrolled the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Dolphins. And that could be a part of this too. Like, you got to think in those 3 games, Tommy, they outscored them. What are we looking at? 75 plus 48 is, 123, 123 to 33 over those 3 games. I mean, and that
Wow.
wasn't that long ago. So it's in there. It's just, are they able to withstand the injuries that they've felt and find that enough when it comes late? It is sort of a big opportunity on a short week and everything for Buffalo to bounce back after that just really embarrassing performance, relatively speaking, right? It was on the road in New England. But, when you're expected to be a Super Bowl contender, because look, Buffalo gets this one, they've still got to go to Cincinnati. They still get the Jets. They've got to go to Philadelphia, to Kansas City, to the Chargers, to the Dolphins, Tommy, and they get, home games against Dallas. Their schedule is rough down the stretch. Like, it is a brutal schedule.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why, as of right now, with the futures market, you can still get the Bills at plus money to win the division, right? And, I know, and what's funny about it is that the Dolphins right now, as of right this second, are the betting favorites to win the AFC East, and the Bills steamrolled the Dolphins. I think it comes down to the way that the schedules line out for the remainder of the season, right? And, I think that's a big part of it. I don't think it's necessarily indicative of the way that the Bills have played overall. Now, they did stumble a week ago against the Patriots, but before that, they looked really, really impressive. I think it's more indicative of what the Bills have coming up over the next couple of months.
It could start tonight. This is a big spot for the Bills. I mean, it's a big spot for the. I'm interested in this game. I'm in on this game. Like, I'm going to be locked in. I'm excited about this game, and I think that short weeks can be confusing in looking bigger picture. But I do think, and for the Bucs, like the Bucs have to feel like they could still win their division, right? Like, the Bucs sit here at, what are the Bucs, 4-3? Like you're sitting there like you think you can win the division here. I guess they're 3-3.
Yeah.
They've had their bye already, but you feel like you can. They absolutely could have, maybe should have won the game against Atlanta. I mean, I'm not scared of the Saints. Certainly not the Panthers. They beat the Saints badly in New Orleans. Like, the Bucs feel like they're a division winner, and they may be going to Kyle Trask soon enough. But this is a big spot for Baker Mayfield and them too. They're, relatively speaking, Tommy, they're healthy.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, I mentioned the stumble that the Bucs had against the Falcons a week ago. And, that was really a game where, I watched a lot of that game.
I did too, because I bet the Bucs.
And it was kind of like, which team is planning on losing this game, right? Like, it wasn't like who's going to go and win the game. It's which team is going to lose the game, because neither the Falcons nor the Buccaneers played particularly well. It was a low scoring, ugly, grimy game. And so, unfortunately for the Bucs, they were the team on the losing end of that in a divisional matchup against the Falcons. But I think from a talent perspective, nothing against the Falcons. I just think that Atlanta is a year or two away from, really being a contender potentially. And I don't know if Desmond Ridder is the long-term answer there. I think the Buccaneers are more built for right now. Even if Baker Mayfield is not a great quarterback, they have the talent on a lot of other areas on that team to be a division winner and a playoff team right now. Do I think that they're a legitimate contender for a championship? No. But I do think that in that division, that, I'm with you. I don't think
agree.
the Saints are going to do anything. I mean, Derek Carr has been banged up and injured, and, I know that they've got Kamara back and all of that, and that's nice, but I don't see the Saints as being a legitimate division winner. Clearly the Panthers aren't right now. It's really the Buccaneers division, in my opinion, to lose.
I agree. I mean, their roster is still built for now. It's sort of like the Tom Brady hangover, but it is still built for now. They still have Godwin. They still have Evans. Those guys are healthy. Rashad White is pretty good. They can't run the ball. Like, their offensive line cannot run block because Rashad White, if you watch them and play fantasy football and have Rashad White, you probably know this. Like, he can't get to the line, let alone through the line. Like, he's tackled in the backfield more than any back I can remember. But he's a good receiver. They have good wide receivers. If Bate can just kind of get the ball out and move the ball, their defense isn't terrible. Like, yeah, they don't have a bad roster at all. And in a division where everybody else sort of seems to be rebuilding a little bit, maybe not New Orleans, but Like, yeah, go get it, Bucks. It's a big spot for them too.
Yeah, and look, if you take, let's say the regular season ends, and we've got all 8 divisional winners matched up against each other. If you're seeding them like in a bracket, like March Madness, the Bucks are going to be the 8 seed, right? Like any other divisional winner will probably beat them.
Yeah,
like it's the weakest division. They would end up probably being the weakest divisional winner in the NFL. But if you're just comparing them to the other teams,
it's all you got to be, though.
Yeah, it's their division to lose.
It's all you got to be, and they have talent at wide receiver, man. Evans and Godwin are both really, really good. Okay, let's do our final giveaway. Let's go with some HTO here, Jad, and then we can, because I don't think we're going to have time to do this tomorrow. Maybe we can sort of make some predictions with the World Series, but let's give away HTO. We'll do a free iced tea, more than 25 flavors, including the 2 new fall flavors, apple pie, peach cobbler. You can get those at Wichita's East or West locations or at the new location in Derby. You can get one of those cards, and then we'll give away an HTO Brewhouse card along with that, which is all the coffee offerings. If you're crazy about iced coffee like so many people are right now, I'm telling you, it is really, really good. But you can get that at the East location in Wichita and in Derby. 869-1240 on the IHOP hotline. We'll get a winner of those 2 giveaways for HTO. We'll come back. World Series predictions when we continue on Sports Daily. Congratulations, James, on winning some HTO. That does it for all our contests today. Glad to be able to do that. Hey, primetime games from Westwood One available live for free right here on KFH and on the Odyssey app. Tune in to KFH tonight for Thursday Night Football. Tampa Bay in Buffalo to take on the Bills, or simply download the Odyssey app and search for KFH at kickoff. That coverage begins at 6:30. Let's preview the World Series a little bit here, Tommy. Dusty Baker, you wanted to mention, is retiring. So the rumors we'd heard for a couple of days are true. Just an all-timer. I mean, he's been in a lot of places and won everywhere. And all things considered, he did stabilize things in Houston after a really rough time. I love him as a character of baseball. He's one of the lasting ones through my lifetime.
Yeah, I was trying to think this morning, when I think of Dusty Baker, which team do I associate with him as far as a manager? Because he spent a lot of time with the Giants and then the Cubs and the Reds and, now the Astros most recently. I don't know. I mean, he's done a lot with a lot of those different teams. Maybe the Cubs, that might be the team that I associate with him the most as a manager. I'm not sure. That's a really tough question, but I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, that Astros organization was in so much disarray and scandal, and they, I think, did the best thing they could possibly do in hiring Dusty Baker to come in and calm things down. An extremely well-respected guy and manager and all of that. And, I was surprised at the time that he took the job, considering how toxic things were in Houston, but he did a really good job in at least kind of stabilizing everything. And that's a big reason, I've mentioned this before, why I don't have this level of hate for the Astros anymore. A lot of it is because I just like Dusty Baker so much.
Yeah, well, I do like Dusty Baker, and I hated that he ended up there. But he did a great job. That's probably his most impressive job, would you say? Like, where I remember him the most, that might be I don't know. That might be, for me, that might be the Giants, probably. Yeah. But I think
he had all those years with Barry Bonds, so that's probably
I know.
why.
I think the memorable part to me is the Giants, I think. But just a wonderful character of baseball. I remember him a lot at Cincinnati for some reason too.
Yeah. I remember when he was with Chicago and the ongoing feud he had with Tony La Russa. Like, he and La Russa hate each other, and La Russa's with the Cardinals and he's with the Cubs, and like that's memorable to me.
So me too, because my grandpa, who was a huge Cardinals fan, and until he was until like every day we watched the Cardinals. Like, you went over to his house, you were watching the Cardinals, whether you wanted to or not. If you tried to talk about your team, the Rangers, the conversation would quickly veer to the car. But he hated Tony La Russa with a fiery passion. La Russo, he called him. And so that is true. I do remember that. All right, let's talk a little World Series. Dusty Baker is not in it. Bruce Bochy is back in it with the Rangers, taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. I am nervous as hell, Tommy, but I am optimistic and confident. I do think it's a matchup that's good. I think these teams are honestly really, really similar. They both have good offenses. They both have a couple of good starting pitchers at the top, and they both have struggled in the bullpen at times this year. They both have swag. They both, kind of stumbled their way into the postseason. I do think they're similar, like a lot similar. To me, this all comes down to, is Texas going to remain hot offensively? We have seen them go into funks time and time again throughout the regular season. They're the streakiest team in baseball. Can they continue to ride the streak? Or is this potentially bad timing and they just get in a little cold stretch? Because if they do, Arizona's going to jump on them. I think I'll say Rangers in 6 would be a prediction. But I think it could go any direction here.
Yeah, it's kind of a crapshoot, but I think that we are in for potentially an all-time classic. I really believe that, because of how similar these teams are, the swag that they have that you mentioned. I think a big question is going to be, can the Rangers, top of their lineup, get hot? Like, can Seager and Simeon, can those guys have a productive World Series?
They did toward the end of the Astros series.
If they do, then advantage goes to the Rangers for sure. But man, don't ever count out the Diamondbacks. And what they did to silence the bats of the Phillies the last couple of games in the championship series, that's huge. So man, I don't know. I'm just gonna say Diamondbacks because you said Rangers. That's basically. I mean, I'm gonna say Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks in 7 is kind of what I think.
Yeah.
Just because of man, like Corbin Carroll is outstanding. Ketel Marte's been there through the. Marte's been there through the bad times in Arizona and now the good times, losing over 100 games and now in the World Series. And they've got other. I mean, like Tommy Pham's on that team and Christian Walker, Evan Longoria. Like they've got some guys.
They've got some guys. And think about the rookies in this series that could become household staples. Corbin Carroll. But on the Rangers end, you have Josh Young, who before injury was going to be the rookie of the year in the American League. And Evan Carter, who's technically going to be a rookie next year because he just got called up. But like Carter, Young, Carroll, those are you've got young potential stars. It's going to be fun. I do think it will be a fun series. I don't think we're going to see like a dominant series because we almost never do, right, in the World Series. Like it's usually entertaining. I hope it's entertaining. Do I hope it's as stressful emotionally as the series against the Astros? No, because that was a lot to handle. Like those games were intense. Can Adolis Garcia continue his run, Tommy? Like, he's the story. Like that guy's out of his mind right now, and he's emotional and like all of those things. And
the Rangers bullpen, man, like you know, go back to that for sure.
So bad.
Yeah,
Bochy has protected them well, but it's so bad. And
I'm going to say Diamondbacks in 7. You say Rangers in 6. We'll see.
The one good thing for the Rangers, Aroldis Chapman doesn't have to pitch in Houston in this series. That's good news because he just flat cannot do that. Did you see him drill McCormick in the hamstring with a 104 mile per hour fastball? Like it made me want to throw up for him. 869-1240. That's the number. We'll come back. We'll tell you what's on tap as we wrap up a Thursday edition of Sports Daily. Thanks, everybody, for hanging in. Ted had a lot of that covered for us. It is a high school football Thursday night. The playoffs are underway. Jim Rome follows us here, 11 to 2. Zach Gelb takes you from 4 to 6:30. Don't forget about Bob and Jeff here locally from 2 to 4. And then Thursday night football right here on KFH and for free on the Odyssey app. Bucks, Bills. We'll talk about that. We'll get you ready for all of the rest of the football weekend tomorrow. We'll have some picks with Paul Savage. Pro wrestler Paul White will be in studio. And we'll have the voice of the K-State Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson, in tomorrow as well. Looking forward to it, Tommy.
Yep, we'll see you then. Can't wait.
All right. For Chad Chambers, Tommy Castor, I'm Jacob Albracht. Thanks to Tim Fitzgerald and Chelsea Messenger. Today, you can listen to it for free on the Odyssey app. We'll see you Friday.